soy de amor, y en su piélago profundo navego sin esperanza de llegar a puerto alguno. Marinero soy de amor.
Venido bueno. Welcome to aliīs vōcibus with other voices, a series about languages that live in the shadows of empires. Today we are going back, not just across borders, but across time, to Iberia, whose Hebrew name is Savrad, to medieval Spain, to the Christian kingdoms that grew out of Muslim-ruled Al-Andalus, where Jews had once lived as a legally protected but vulnerable minority, and then became targets of forced conversion, expulsion, and persecution, to the Jewish communities of Castile, and to the language that went into exile in 1492 and refused to die. If you've heard about it before, you probably know it as Ladino or Judeo-Spanish. There are other names too, Judaismo, Judeo, Sephardi, Spaniolit, but I think a more accurate name is Judeo-Castilian, which also appears in the language itself as Castellano Nuestro, our Castilian. Yes, the name matters. A language born before Spain. When Jews were expelled from Spain in 1492, they didn't leave a Spanish-speaking country. They left a multilingual Iberia. There was Castilian, Catalan, Aragonese, Galician Portuguese, Arabic, others. The Jews who left Castile took Castilian with them, not Spanish, Castilian. They carried it to the Ottoman Empire, North Africa, Italy, the Balkans, and the Americas. That exiled Castilian became Judeo-Castilian. Other Jewish Iberian languages vanished. Judeo-Aragonese, Judeo-Catalan, Judeo-Portuguese. Only this one survived. What do we call it? People say Ladino, they say Judeo-Spanish, they say Judaismo. But names are not neutral. Calling it Judeo-Spanish makes it sound like a side branch of a modern national language, one that grew out of Castilian. But the language is older than Spain as a nation. It is Judeo-Castilian, Castilian that left, survived, and changed elsewhere, but also held on to features that modern Spanish has lost. Why the name Ladino is tricky. Historically, Ladino meant something very specific, a word-for-word translation of Hebrew texts into Castilian, often written in Hebrew letters. That's not how people talked in the street. That's not how they scolded their kids. That's not how they flirted. That's not how they fell in love. Calling the spoken language Ladino is like calling English King James Bible English. Ladino? Popular? Yes. Precise? No. How it sounds. Let's actually hear Judeo-Castilian. Here's a simple sentence. La nuestra casa es grande. Nuestra casa es grande. You probably noticed three things right away. Nuestra instead of nuestra. Casa instead of casa, grande instead of grande. That A ending is not wrong. It reflects older Romance and early Castilian grammar. Another one. Mi fisico está jugando con su juguete nuevo. Mi hijito está jugando con su nuevo juguete. In Judeo-Castilian, Spanish hijo is hijo, or more archaic still, filho, from Latin filius. And the diminutive hijito is hijico or fijico. That's not the K, that's history speaking. One more. Esto es lo que mi nona me dijo. Esto es lo que me dijo mi abuela. Dicho instead of dijo, nona instead of abuela, a word borrowed from Italian during centuries in the Mediterranean world. This is Castilian, Castilian as it once sounded, Castilian that traveled. A language that kept moving. Judeo-Castilian absorbed words from everywhere, from Hebrew, Turkish, Greek, Bosnian, Italian, Arabic, and others. It became a diaspora Romance language. Hakatia, the Arabic flavored voice. In North Africa, especially northern Morocco, Judeo-Castilian took on another form, Hakitia. Hakitia is Judeo-Castilian shaped by a Maghrebi Arabic. It sounds different. It feels different. It uses Arabic words and rhythms. Cities like Tangier and Tetuan once rang with it. Today, Hakitia is almost gone. But it reminds us that Judeo-Castilian was never just one thing. It was a constellation of voices. A language without a state. Judeo-Castilian had no nation, no schools, no army, no language ministry. It survived because families spoke it, because mothers sang in it, because people printed newspapers in it. Then the 20th century came, the Holocaust, nationalism, Hebrew in Israel, Turkish in Turkey, English and Spanish in the Americas, and Judeo-Castilian began to fade. Almost all members of the once thriving speaker community of Salonika were murdered in World War II. These days, most speakers are elderly. The language began to fade not because it failed, but because history crushed its speakers. But there are efforts to save the language, to revive it, to promote it, even to teach it at universities. Why it matters. Judeo-Castilian shows us something powerful. Languages do not belong to states. States claim languages, chosen languages. This is Castilian that did not become Spanish. A language of exile, a language of memory, a language that still rings out alongside Hebrew and Aramaic in some Sephardic synagogues, and one that still deserves to be heard. And let's briefly listen to some spoken Judeo-Castilian.
Y en la playa había las cabinas en la playa eran como camaretas. De la zafra venían a la mar en esta manera y era camaretas y camaretas. Había, no sé cuándo me está acordando cuántas ciras había y todos querían tomar estas camaretas porque van a pasar el día allá. Para tomar estas camaretas, como se iba mucha gente.
This is aliīs vōcibus, where we listen to voices too often misnamed, too often disregarded, and too rarely heard. Adios.